Hey guys, Brandy here. We're in the greenhouse at Sewing Back, and today it is February 8th, 2023, and we're going to actually start some of our first seeds for this growing season. And so I wanted to show you what I'm going to try to use this year. Last year I used, I know one of the brands was, I think, Jiffy seed starting mix. And one of the things I noticed were the bags got smaller. And I was starting a lot of plants. And I did find it to be pretty quality product. But then it just was not necessarily cost effective as the bag got smaller and the price went up. So then I tried planting directly, sowing seeds directly into potting mix. And that worked really well for some of the plants, but others not so much. So I am going to try something different this year. And I want to try, I had a video a week or so ago where we went to Atlantis Hydroponics, and I picked up this Pro Mix HP. This one has nothing in it, okay? It is a growing medium. It is fantastic for starting seeds, but it has no nutrition in it. So your seeds will germinate, but once they have germinated, you have to feed them. And one of my favorite soils, potting soils, I love any of the Fox Farm products, Happy Frog, stuff like that you'll see. Mother Earth, I think, is another one, and I love their products. So I picked this one up while we were there as well, because what I want to do is kind of make my own mix of seed sowing mix. That's what I want to try to do. I've never done that, so I'm kind of stepping out a little bit here. And I picked this one because of the really quality. It's a good soil, and it's good at having the fertilizer in it, and it uses your fish emulsion, your crab meal, shrimp meal, earthworm castings, bat poop, kelp meal, and oyster shells. And so this gives a really good quality of fertilizer. And that's not to say I will not be fertilizing my starts. I will. You need to get your best plant. But I want that first start to really have a solid soil that it can start its life out well. So what I did is I have a big tote here. I cleaned it out, and I'm going to pour some of my Pro Mix and some of my potting soil. And I think what I'm going to try to do is like a half and half. And then I'm going to fill my tray. So let me kind of talk you through what I am doing today and what I have. When we went to Atlantis, we did not buy the seed trays and stuff. We had bought an abundance. Well, we bought some more last year, but I would say over the last couple years, as we were kind of ratcheting up our gardening endeavors, we had already purchased these. So we get these seed trays from them, and they have, because I learned this last year, I really prefer, I don't mind like doing a squirt bottle on top, but I really prefer to water from the bottom. So then you want to get the bottom ones like that don't have the holes that the trays fit in, like so. Now if you have old trays, you need to wash them. I say this because if you were to go to your local community college or university or whatever, and you took your first horticulture class, one of the first things you're going to learn about seed starting and just planting in general is the first thing that you can do for your plants is to give them their best shot at being healthy. A healthy plant is going to go so much further in your landscape, in your garden, whatever your plant, or if you're wanting to sell them, whatever your plan is for them, your goal should be for the healthy plant. And so to start a healthy plant is having clean materials that you're going to grow in. And I have seen other YouTubers and stuff say it doesn't matter. It may not matter for you, but you may not know. You may have had failure, and you may not have had great germination, or you may have ended up with terrible blight and things like that. And honestly, that can all start from using dirty trays that can have disease in them. So it's not hard to clean them out. Clean them out. I have a bunch still I have to clean out. I'm not using any of those. Matter of fact, I've already went and I washed out some of these bottom trays I needed to wash out. And I had a couple of my dome lids that I needed to rinse out, just because of dust and things like that from being stored. So you want to do that. Now I'm going to be using these kinds of trays. I'm planning on planting 4 trays. And my 5th one is one I'm calling kind of a standalone. I'm only going to do 8. And that is because this tray is the only one I'm planting chamomile. And this one does not need heat to germinate, but it does, it needs light, but it also can't have a cover over it. So this will be my only one that I'm planting that won't have a cover over it. And so I'm just doing these kind of as a standalone, and as I continue to sow seeds, I will put like type plants and things in the rest of this seed tray. But for today, I'm only going to be doing this. And so these are, I love these cups. These are 2.5 inch pots. They are heavy duty. I used these last year. I love them. I got them from Bootstrap Farmer. I think the first person I saw recommend them was Travis over at Lazy Dog Farm. He's in South Georgia and a great guy, and you can learn a whole lot from him. But I saw him and he was talking about how great it was because you could kind of color code if you're growing a lot of the same variety. And that is kind of what I did last year. So I ordered them after I saw them on his, but I also know that Whispering Willow Farm, as a matter of fact, I think she's the one that designed the color of the collections. I think I'm saying that right. So I'm sure you can go to their page. She may have a deal, I don't know, but I know that they sell them. And like I said, they have like a springy one, they had a summer one. I don't know if they ever did a fall one or not, but you can certainly pick those up. They have them in black. I particularly wanted the colored ones because I was growing so many different varieties of tomatoes, and I was trying to color code my different ones. I don't know that that worked perfectly, but it doesn't matter. These are heavy duty plastic. They really hold up well. If you do peppers in these, you will have to pot up because this will not give you a big enough root ball to have as much success with peppers. That was something I learned last year. I'll also say that I feel like if you're going to do some heirloom tomatoes, that you're going to have to probably expect to pot up. They also do well if you give them a little bit more time so that you can bury them a little bit deeper and get a better root ball going. But I'm not planting any tomatoes or peppers today. So with our crazy cold snap we had at Christmas, it killed most of my brassicas. I'm sorry, by the way, for all the noises. I can't control them. I live in the burbs. I live a few miles from a small airport. I live very close to some schools, so you hear buses, planes, sometimes sirens. And at the same time, I had about an hour ago, I had about 10 deer running through my property. So you never know. But anyway, so my brassicas, for the most part, other than my Brussels sprouts, are doing okay. I trimmed those back where the bad parts were. Some of them didn't really get going. They're still very small, but they're alive. So I'm hoping they're actually growing. I fertilized them after I cleaned up where the leaves had definitely taken some damage, and then I did a heavy nitrogen fertilizer, and I clipped back my collard greens. And what I did with my collard greens was kind of the same thing, where it was very damaged or had pest pressures on it, like a lot. It was just not salvageable. I fed that to my girls, and then I picked the other for us, and I cleaned them, and we had them, and I went ahead and I pulled my rutabagas, and they were delicious. They were very delicious. And but I left enough on the collard greens that, I mean, I probably could go pick again now. I also fertilize those with a heavy nitrogen. So those are going great, and I don't need any more of those. So I'm not planning on, because I'm just going to have those keep going until we use that up, and then I'll start getting those beds ready for spring and summer plantings of our summer type crops. But all but one broccoli died. All of the cauliflower died. All of my cabbages were toast. And I'm pretty sure that my onions bit the dust. I see no remnants of them anywhere, and which is sad, because we planted a lot of onion plants, but that's okay. I mean, some of them may still come back, but I don't want to hedge all my bets on it, and I want to try one more time to do some starts of onions. I haven't had a lot of success, and I kind of feel like if I'm just not very successful this go around, I just don't know if I'm gonna continue to try to grow them. There's other things I can grow, and that's kind of how I feel about it. I pretty much made that conclusion with beets. I think I may try one more time, and if I don't get anywhere with it, then I'll just buy my beets, you know. So it's kind of like that. So anyway, so broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, those are on the brassica families. Now onions are not, but they all need to be on a heat mat to germinate. They do not need light, and they really don't have any special needs, and so, but they, other than the heat mat. So I'm putting all of those items into one tray, and I have a little cheat sheet here of what I'm growing. I put the date, the year. It's in a page protector, so it's protected in case water were to get on it. And I've listed what my items are, how many weeks before I can plant them out, the depth in which to plant, and how many days it generally takes for them to germinate. And then I also have like special notes if they need special things. My standalone are chamomile, because they take, I can plant them out in about 8 weeks. They are a surface depth, so you just kind of put them on the top, and they take 10 to 14 days to germinate. They need no heat, no cover, but they do need light. So that's one of the reasons those are a standalone. My second tray, they need heat and light, and that's going to be all lettuces. I want to try to do a full tray of lettuces. My green stock, well, both of my green stalks I'm going to redo. My strawberry one got very neglected last year. I'm going to move them to the backyard for one thing. I'm back here a lot more than I am in the front one. And I want to move it to the back one because my front one gets inundated with birds. And I'm not saying I don't have any in the backyard, but I do think because the dogs are in the backyard, even though they're not in the garden area, that I don't have as much action back here with the birds like I do in the front one. And the birds like to make nests in your green stalks. So it's a great little nesting area underneath the top watering cup that filters down. And that's what happened with my strawberries last year. And so my strawberries bit the dust. So I have bought new bare root strawberries to plant. So my red green stalk, I'm just going to redo it with my new strawberry starts and start over. And then my green green stalk that I have, I think I want to do all lettuce. And so I want to do a whole tray. I have like butter crunch. I have a couple different lettuces. So the thing about lettuce is that it needs heat and light to germinate. So it is a quick germinator, so you should know pretty quickly within 2 to 4 days if it's going to germinate. If it doesn't, then something's not right, and you should be able to know, that you need to fix that. My third tray is going to, this one is going to be one of the trickier ones. I had a lot of problems. I didn't do it right last year. Trying to start lavender. I did successfully last year grow dill, holy basil, and I have never tried from seed echinacea. I have some echinacea out in my front garden, and I think it's 2-year-old echinacea, but I bought it at the farmer's market, and I want to try to grow my own. And so with this third tray, it needs heat and light, and it has to be covered. And so the lavender takes 8 to 10 days to 8 to 10 weeks before you plant it out. It is when you just put the seeds on the surface. It can take 14 to 21 days to germinate, and then you're just going to pat it real gentle once you get those seeds on the surface. Then echinacea is 8 to 10 weeks. It's very close, similar to the lavender, but you're going to plant it a 1/4 inch. It can take 10 to 20, is it 10 to 12 days? I think it's 10 to 12 days. And it has to be covered or it will not germinate. Holy basil is 6 to 8 weeks. It is 1/8 of an inch that you're going to sow the seed. 6 to 10 days it will germinate, and you're going to rake over where you sowed that seed because it's just barely under the soil. And then dill is about 8 weeks, and 1/4, so a 1/4 inch is how you're going to plant it. It should germinate in 7 to 21 days, and you're going to rake over that soil after you just briefly put it in there. And then my last tray number 4, needs no heat, no light to germinate, but it does need to be covered. And that is going to be my leeks, celery, and marshmallow. And marshmallow would be probably more of a medicinal or herb that you could use. So, and if you're interested how I knew to do this, I spent a whopping $2 whole. I want to say a huge thank you to Sarah over at Homestead, or Living Traditions Homestead. I want to say her name, say their thing right. I had written, I think it was about a week or so ago, I saw in their potting shed that she had already done some lavender, and I really had such a hard time doing lavender. I tried several times. I knew I wasn't doing something right. And so I had asked her if she had, I figured she already had a video or something. But this morning she had put up a video and she talked about some of these, some of your herbs and flowers and things like that that are a little more challenging than vegetables are to start. And she did a great job in that video, and I'll link it in the description of this video. But on her Etsy shop, she actually has I think it's 3 or 4 spreadsheets, and she goes through and she tells you the weeks to plant, the seed depth, the days of germination, any kind of special needs they have. Do they need heat? Do they need light? It is so helpful. That was, I mean, it's worth $2. It was amazing. I think I would have paid 10 for it. And the one thing I learned in my teaching days, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And if someone has done the work to put something very useful together, pay them the money. I mean, $2 is it's a downloadable. You get it immediately. There's no shipping or anything like that. And it has such valuable information. Now, is it an exhaustive list of everything? No, but it's a pretty good list. There's still some more things on there that maybe you want to plant that's not on there, but you will get the gist of what she did, that you should be able to take your seed packet and plug in the information if it's not on her list. But the majority of what I wanted is definitely on the list. So I just took her notes and I made my own. It was fun to watch her video and her talk about how much she loves page protectors. I figured I just love page protectors from being a teacher. I put everything in page protectors, and so I love them. And so I just made me a little sheet here. And so this is my first planting that I'm going to do. I've picked all of my seeds that I'm going to start today. And I think the one thing I really want to say to encourage you is that when you start seeds that you're starting your own seeds, to stagger it. It can get very overwhelming if you try to do all the things like one day or even in a weekend or something. I think that if you get started and you just kind of stagger it and you work a little bit at a time, you'll be amazed at, what you're going to be able to do. The other thing I will encourage you is when you're starting seeds, I did this last year. It was my really first year of starting a lot of seeds. I know I started probably last year. I want to say I probably started over 2,000 plants from seed. And that's not just talking about, that's nothing direct sown. They didn't all take, and I had a lot of different varieties, and I probably got a little caught up in that, but it was fun, and I'm happy I did it, and because it was fun to experiment and try different things that we hadn't tried before. But I would recommend when you're getting started to pick some things that you like, maybe just a couple things that pique your curiosity, and just start with that. And as you get better and more developed, then you may want to venture out. Plus, you'll eliminate some things if you have some of those, I'm going to try this, which we had a lot of last year. And there were a lot that we were like, we didn't care so much for that tomato, or that didn't do so well for us, but we really like this over here. So we kind of started figuring some of that stuff out. And but it was definitely on a scale that was hard to manage, hard to keep up with. And then of course I used tags that ended up getting no matter what I used, washed away. And I did okay in my front garden because I had my map of that garden. We were still building this garden, so I'm still working on drawing out this garden. We're adding to this garden this year. So I didn't have my mapped out copy of my beds and what was planted where in this back area. And this back area is a lot larger than my front area, but my front area, I knew where everything was, because even though the tags might have washed off, I had taken the time to map out that garden, and I filled in what I planted where. And that was so useful because we did have so many different varieties that we were growing. So I would recommend that you keep that in mind, you know, as you're getting excited about garden season. A lot of people are very excited. A lot of people have gotten little greenhouses and all the things. And I totally get that. I totally understand that. But starting smaller and growing over the course is probably going to serve you better. The second thing is, I was shocked at how many plants I started last year and they worked. Like, I had great germination rate, and I was like, I'm gonna have a plant sale because I had so many plants. And then when I actually started planting in my spaces, I barely had enough plants. So I was a little taken aback about that. So be aware of your garden space. You don't want to overplant your space, but if you're following like the square foot gardening method, that's going to help you understand how much square footage you have. And sometimes that's just hard to do until you go through a garden season. You know, I mean, it's better to garden and mess things up and learn from that. You're not going to get it all right. I'm not going to get it all right. And I've been gardening for decades. It's just the truth. And you learn new things each year. So like last year, I learned all about bean beetles. I have lived here for 26 years. I have grown green beans almost every year that I have lived here for the 26 years. And I have never seen a bean beetle until last year. And last year, my beans were destroyed. Outside of the very early on ones that I got. And I'm so thankful that I canned those and we've been able to enjoy those, because pretty much everything else was at a loss. So you just never know. So also, if you have limited space, you may not, I wouldn't recommend, you don't need to do an onion. You can get onions pretty cheap in the store, so don't feel like you have to do that. You don't have to do brassicas in the spring, because I'm taking a chance on doing brassicas because I live in Georgia, 7B, and I'm in Kennesaw, Georgia, which is 7B. And like today is February 8th, and my greenhouse, let's see, what does it say? It's on the 80 degrees. Now I do have both doors open, and we have no shade cloth on today. But outside of this greenhouse, it's 70 degrees. I'm in shorts, and that's normal Georgia weather. And honestly, by the time we get to early spring, we could be having 85 days, you know, or up, and these brassicas will bolt. And so you have to, I'm taking a little bit of a gamble, but I want to try. And see if I get anything. I'm also going to plant them in a bed where I get a little bit of shade, so I'm hoping that might help me out. And I've actually thought about putting a little shade cloth over it to help also give it its best chance. But I have the space to do that, and you may not. So don't feel like you have to start broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, or anything like that. Also realize that when you plant one broccoli plant, you're going to get one broccoli, one cabbage, one head of cauliflower, and they take a full square foot. So they take up a lot of space, and it's like a one and done. You might get a few offshoots, but typically it's a one and done. And that may not be worth it to you, because you can go to your local grocery store and get one, and it just makes more sense not to do that. I'm just doing it because I have the space and I want to try. The lettuces I'm really excited about trying, because we like to eat a lot of salad, and I haven't had a lot of success doing lettuces, but I also was not doing it correctly. So I'm excited the green stalk lettuces are supposed to do really well. And so that's kind of my plan, why I want to revamp that one for just lettuce. Matter of fact, they sell some green stalks that are just for like leafy ones. I have the original one, which you can grow. It just gives you a little bit bigger root area. And then of course, lavender. I love to plant. Deer hate it. Bees love it. And I have lots of land where I can put in lavender and echinacea and that kind of stuff. I want to go ahead and get some dill going because I'm hoping that I think we're going to have an early spring. My indicators are how soon the birds have come back, how warm it has been, kind of what our predictions were as far as the winter for the long range forecast. And honestly, just for the last year, how our weather patterns have been, I think we're headed towards probably an early spring. And because most of the seasons we have hit, and it's been early. Winter hit early and hard, and then it was kind of over. And fall hit early, and fall this past fall, it was an okay fall. We had a lot of rain, so. And then summer last year, like it hit slamming in June of last year, and then the rest of our summer was kind of like a nothing burger. So because of that, I'm thinking I might be able to get an early crop of some cucumbers. So we'll see. It may not work, but I want to have dill if I do, because I've got to have dill pickles. So I want to go ahead and get that started. And then the leeks, I tried doing the leeks last year. I didn't quite do them right. I did have success in starting them, but it was once I got them out in the bed. I think I really just planted them too late when I got them out in the beds. So I want to try to do some more leeks, see how it goes. I did grow celery successful last year, so I'm hoping to do that again. And the marshmallow is totally new. That was one I got from the seed swap on my Azure haul where we did our first seed swap. So I'm excited to give that one a try. I know it has some medicinal purposes. I don't know enough about it to speak on it yet. But I'm always kind of curious about that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I have. So I'll have 4 trays and my 1 stand alone. And that's kind of my plan. I'm going to mix up my soil. The one thing I'm doing a little bit different, I've had other videos on here where I have wet down the soil until it kind of forms like a clay ball. And I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to mix up my soil. I'm going to get it in my trays. I'm going to follow my directions. And then I have a water bottle and I'm going to spray it down really well and put my dome on, with the exception of my chamomile that can't have a dome on it. And I will be watering it, watching it very closely each day. I want to see how this if I like this better, because one of the things I had a really difficult time with last year were the gnats, and just because of all of the rainfall we've been getting, that's just going to add to that. So I want to try to do it this way. My ones that need to be on a heat mat, which is tray 1, tray 2, and tray 3 are all gonna go in my garage. I have a shelf in there. John's gotta hang the lights, and because we actually have lights in there, and we can adjust them depending on as our plants are going. And so he's going to hang get the lights hung to where they need to be. And we have our heat lamps, and we actually, when we had our house rewired, we actually had several, we had 4 more electrical plugs added to that area where we do that. And that's just mainly, I'll eventually move them out to the greenhouse, but to get them to germinate and their best start, I'm going to follow the directions, and they need heat. So that's what we're going to do. I don't have electricity out in this. I guess I could run a cord, but I don't really want to do that when I have the capability of doing that inside. So with that, I am going to get this mixed up, and then I'll show you how I do these.
Why are you mixing that stuff with it? This is the inert stuff.
I know what it is, because I want it to have some fertilizer. You want a scoop? It's a pretty good scoop.
Mm-mm. Break it up.
I know.
Don't try to pick that up.
No, I'm just moving out of my way. Thank you.
So should I not start this engine over here?
You do what you gotta do.
Okay, that's what I gotta do. You'll have to tell me to turn it off. Which you probably will be.
We have dueling projects, y'all. He's trying to build us a fence. So he got a new auger. And I gotta start some seeds. So I just tried to break this stuff up. And now I want to add some of this potting soil. This is the Fox Farm. And so now I'm just gonna mix them with my hands, my gloves. They're your best tools in the kitchen and in the garden. That's just the truth. Okay guys, so the first tray 1, I don't know if you can see it on there, tray 1, heat, I wrote on there it needs heat, no light, and the date. I have my tags. If you notice, Haas Seeds are starting to put these tags in theirs, which is super nice. So the last part is I have my water bottle here. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to cut these if I can. I had scissors because I don't think my dome lid's gonna fit on that. Here they are. So let's see. Yeah, that's better. honestly, that worked okay. I don't know where it says we got it at Tractor Supply, so I found it on the shelf. Alrighty, so we got one down. So we're gonna put our lid on, like so, and I'm gonna set it over here out of the way, and we're gonna start on the next one. Everything that I started this afternoon to plant, it is all planted, and John has set up my shelf in the garage. I think I'm gonna go ahead, because it's gonna rain, and I think we're supposed to have thunderstorms tomorrow. I probably won't get out here, so I think I'm just gonna put everything in the garage tonight. I will eventually move stuff out here. But if you found value in this, I would love a thumbs up. If you are enjoying our content, I would really appreciate if you would consider subscribing to our channel. That helps us very much. Or if you know someone you think who might enjoy our channel, please share our channel. We appreciate that. It helps build our platform. Also, if you have questions down below that maybe I didn't say something clear or whatever, please ask. I will be happy to do my best to point you in the right directions. But with that, it's definitely getting dark. I will see you next time. Bye.
I'm not sure I remember how to do that.
Did you say you're going to put on 69?
70's good. That's a good all-around temperature to germinate things.
Okay.
You just have to watch it.
Could you move your beard?
Yeah, you just have to watch it so it doesn't dry everything out.
No, I know. I have to sprinkle it.
Yeah.
Or not sprinkle it, but I got my
The heat
mister.
mat makes it dry out.
So these are my 3 trays that are on the heat. And they have light. Now the broccoli ones didn't need light, but it's not going to hurt it. But they had to have heat. The other 2 needed heat and light, and they all needed to be covered. So they are now in, and we've got the thermostat going. So I'll keep you posted on how it all goes.